This is Tennessee Talks with United States Congressman Tim Burchett.
Hello, I'm Congressman Tim Burchett, and welcome back to another episode of Tennessee Talks. Today I'm incredibly blessed that we've got on today is Trey Smith. He's an offensive guard for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's from Humboldt, Tennessee, and played at the University of Tennessee, of course. He's a five-star recruit and chose the University of Tennessee over Ohio State, Alabama, and Ole Miss. He was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs in the 6th round, the 2021 NFL Draft, and was immediately named the Chiefs' starting right guard. Trey, I want to thank you for joining me on Tennessee Talks. It's great to have you on the show. And, being a fellow football player, I don't know if you knew this or not, I was captain of the 1982 Bearden High School football team. We went 5-5. You might have heard of me. I was slow, but I couldn't catch. I'm always amazed. I can't listen to these call-in talk shows, man. These guys like, well, I played high school football. Like, well, go back and play high school football, dadgummit. You're not even a JUCO, man. Oh man, and it's just, yeah. The game's so fast now compared to when we played it. Remember, I was a receiver, and I think I was throwing the ball 12 times my senior year, and caught 10 of them. But still, it just ain't like that anymore, man. It's just a fast game. Let me ask you, what was was it hard for you to choose Tennessee over those other programs? I know you get a lot of pressure being a hometown guy and everything, but did you always want to be a Vol?
Well, Congressman, first off, man, thanks for having me on here. It's an honor to speak with you again. And I guess going back to my story, man, it's not going to make a lot of Tennessee fans happy, but I grew up an Alabama fan, huge Alabama fan growing up.
Sure.
Started out my kindergarten teacher. Her son was a manager with the Alabama football team. It was the first college football game I ever attended. I got a little bit of extra access, met some of the players at the end of the game, took a picture of the head coach. So that's sort of where my love for collegiate athletics really started.
Yep.
For me, though, growing up in the state of Tennessee, I was an Alabama fan at the time. You always saw that power T everywhere on the back of cars, going in shops, stores, people wearing the T-shirts on Saturday, always hearing Rocky Top. So for me, man, Tennessee has been a part of who I am, even when I wasn't a fan. You could never avoid the power and the brand of the power T. Growing up, as I got older, I got my first scholarship offer to University of Mississippi. I think I was 14 or 13 years old. Sat down with Hugh Freeze in his office. My dad was in one chair. My mom was sitting next to me in a sofa, straight across from Coach Freeze. Had a great football camp. I was obviously young at the time. And I remember at the end of it, he's like, son, you had a great camp. You did a fine job. You're a fine young man. And we want to give you a scholarship offer at University of Mississippi. And so my mom and I were just looking at him. We just started laughing like, this guy's not serious. Like, he doesn't know how old I am. Are you kidding me? And my dad is just dead serious, looking at him in his eyes. He understands what this guy just said. So once we realized, oh, he's serious, it was like, okay, this is a reality. This is actually a thing that I can go do. I can live out my dreams. So for me, going throughout the process, trying to figure out different schools I want to go to, being a 5-star recruit, we had suitors all across the country coming for me. And I was ranked the #1 overall prospect on ESPN, something at the time I did not like because it's sort of a target on your back in a lot of different ways. But it was really cool and unique being able to go across the country, go to these schools that you always hear about, going to Notre Dame one season, going to see Touchdown Jesus, going to Ohio State, seeing the pageantry that's involved with it. So it was definitely a tough decision. So on my decision date, I knew I wasn't going to Ole Miss. I knew I wasn't going to University of Alabama. So really it came down to 2 schools, Tennessee or Ohio State. And for me, Ohio State just had that game against Michigan. They had the gray helmets. It was overtime. We stormed the field. And my last official visit was Tennessee. And I remember just the feeling I had that night. I prayed about it. And in my mind, I wanted to go to Ohio State, but in my heart and my spirit, I knew Tennessee was the right place for me. I had to make a 40-year decision, not a simple 4-year decision. I knew the University of Tennessee, where it was, if I could come help and contribute, it would mean so much more being an in-state guy. It's so much more being a Tennessee Volunteer, what it stands for and what it represents. So ultimately, I made the best decision of my life and went to Tennessee.
That's interesting. You say you pray about that thing. You know, people of faith, people that don't have faith in God, they don't get that. But you know, I get into tough binds, and you look at the numbers and they think, well, I need to go this way. But then I pray about it, and I just have clarity to go the other way. And then I look back years later, and it was the right choice. You know, and so I'm glad to hear you say that. Let's fast forward a little bit. Coach Andy Reid picks you in the draft.
Hmm.
I've seen that on television. I can't imagine being a young man, what that would be like. Walk us through that a little bit. Your folks were there, I assume.
Yeah.
Several of your girlfriends, I assume, were there.
No, just one girl. One girl. We've been together about 7 years now. So
Awesome.
my draft story is wild. For fans and people listening, to give you a little context. I was diagnosed with pulmonary embolisms in my lungs, both branches. So my sophomore season, football was pretty much in jeopardy. But I was able to come back, play the next year, about halfway through the season, get diagnosed with the same thing. So through the grace of God, I was able to play again. It was something that was not very easy to do. The medical recommendations, the medical protocol I had to follow was something that no football player at the time has ever had to do. So you look at that circumstance and situation, you understand the NFL draft. In my mind, in my eyes, you know, I had the talent to go compete at the next level, but you have to clear the medicals, and that's a huge part about it. And in 2020, a thing called COVID came around, and it messed up a lot of stuff. We didn't have a traditional combine. I didn't have the ability to go on visits, talk to teams, be looked at by their doctors, give them the due diligence and confidence that they needed to make that pick. So my situation was tough. You know, I was talking to my agent, Tori Dandy and Jimmy Sexton at the time. And quite candidly, you know, I've always had the dream of being a first-round draft pick. I knew I wasn't going the first round. For me, I was thinking either a mid to lower end second, third round at the latest. And so we go into that situation. I interviewed with a lot of teams, felt good about the process. I was able to have the opportunity to go to the Senior Bowl, do some good things, put some good tape out there, had a great career with the University of Tennessee. And, you know, ultimately you had to let the chips go where they go. And when we go to the actual draft process, mine's weird. Once again, I was one of those guys where on paper, I was a top talent guy. So they sent us, once again, going back to COVID, they sent us all the camera equipment set up at my house, had a lot of family over the first day. I'm a big video gamer, Congressman. So I was just on my video game night one. I knew.
Call me Tim, all right?
Yeah,
Call me
my
Tim.
bad, Tim. Yeah, Tim. So
cool.
I'm on my video game the whole time. I'm just hanging out with buddies and friends from high school and college, not paying attention to it. My phone calls, you know, great. If not, that's sort of what I expected day one. So day one rolls around, you know, family like, okay, you'll get drafted tomorrow. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, tomorrow will be my day. So a little bit more anxious, a little bit more nervous. The draft begins. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go take my mind off it. I'm going to play my video games again. So I'm sitting there playing, you know, draft goes on, first couple picks, second round. Okay. Not going to go that high. That's fine. Keeps going. Second round's over with. Don't get picked. I'm okay. Third round. It happened. You know, the medicals, maybe they aren't confident about it. So third round goes on, and the day progresses. I don't get picked on day two. So I'm sitting there myself like, man, my medical situation might be the downfall to my career. I might not have the opportunity to play football at the next level. So you can understand the mental space was pretty crushing to sort of have that. So I end up going in on third day, just, you know, hoping to get drafted. If not, it's fine. Day sort of progresses, not hearing any phone calls, not much news from my agents. And a couple teams have interest in me. And once again, to give the viewers a little bit more context, the University of Tennessee, my final 2 years of playing, I would not practice. I would just simply go out there, do a little bit of individual drill with a strength coach named Mike Farrell at the time. I would hit the bags, do different things. The day before the game, I'd come off the blood thinning medication and actually play. So my case is an anomaly. Once again, in NFL, you have to practice to get better. It's a non-negotiable. So for a lot of teams, it didn't make sense. So going back to the draft story, day three rolls around. I end up getting a phone call from a team, old head coach, actually, Urban Meyer. And, you know, he's saying, look, son, I remember you from high school. You're a great kid, great player. I understand the medical history is something that we've had to face. You know, don't worry about it. We'll fly you in. We'll get it all sorted out. You and your dad will come in. We'll figure this out. And, you know, we'll make you a new member of the team at the time. And so at that point, I'm sitting there to myself, okay, I didn't get drafted, but I have an opportunity, and that's all I need is an opportunity. And, I'm sitting there to myself. My dad had actually left. He'd gone to Rafferty's to get some chicken tenders for lunch, and pretty much it was settled. About 10, 15 minutes after he left the house, once again, I'm on my video game. I get a phone call from Kansas City. And I don't know if they have it somewhere. They have to, but the recording is going to be hilarious when I can play it over when I'm done playing, because the doctor from Kansas City calls me and he's like, Trey, is this you? And I'm like, yeah, it's me. And, at the time, I'm already going to Jacksonville. What are you calling me for? And he's like, I told you I'd call again, tries to make a little joke about it. I'm like, all right, man, like, what do you want? And so he basically says, well, we're going to make you the newest member of the Kansas City Chiefs. And then the owner, Mark Hunt, gets on the phone, and then my whole demeanor changes. Like, okay, this is serious. This is happening. So I get that. I talked to Coach Reid. I talked to my O-line coach. And from that point on, I was drafted in the 6th round. It was funny. Like I said, my dad was actually out. Most of my family was out. Just me and my sister at the house. And I'm calling my dad like, hey, Kansas City just drafted me. He's like, that's great. He's like, lunch is going to be ready in about 20 minutes. So that was my draft experience, man. It was a roller coaster.
Man, that's cool. That's awesome, actually. You play with in the trenches, and you're a big guy. You talked about being a target, and I get that. I played with some guys that I would assume, the bus would roll in and somebody yells something at them, and back and forth kind of crap. It was back before the internet, really. I just turned 59 2 weeks ago, so I'm an old guy,
man.
but you had 3 TV stations then, but we didn't really have anybody. But I saw it earlier on. My brother played. They had some pretty big ball players, and some of those guys, the Gophers out of rural high school, they had played for one of them played for Detroit, actually, and played for UT. And so describe that. You're a big guy in the trenches. What's that like?
Yeah, man. I'll take you to high school. That's probably one of the more fun aspects of it. So played at University of School of Jackson. I think we were Division II AA at the time, so not a huge division in Tennessee. For me, it was fun, man. Being able to manhandle, take your opponent wherever you want to go, have fun out there, be dominant, being that force that your team feeds off and relies on. That was awesome. Talking about sort of the trash talking, you get that even through social media. I had kids like try to call me out before a game and making them pay every down. But as time progressed, I got a little bit older. There's an injury factor that sort of creeps in your mind. People are trying to take you out, obviously. You don't have your best interest as well. So going into college, you're a big fish at the time, but you're about to enter the ocean a little bit. So that's a whole different story. Going to University of Tennessee, being able to play at the next level was my dream. And I think the biggest thing was like, man, I'm about to play SEC ball. It doesn't get better than SEC ball. So for me, man, that was an exciting challenge. Wish we could have had more success. That's something that I'm going to say it haunts me a little bit. Watching them ball out these past couple of years of job Coach Heupel's done, seeing the guys have fun, man, that's something I wish I could have brought more to the University of Tennessee. But I digress from there. Going into the NFL, it's a whole nother phase. Everything is so technical. Every minute detail matters to be successful at your job. And for me, that's been a huge transition. At the end of the day, a lot of times, obviously high school, you can get away with a lot of things because your sports and athletic ability. And in college, even so, some of your opponents are lesser than at times. But in NFL, everybody's good. Everybody's paid. Everybody has a reason, objective, people they're playing for, people that are depending on them to get it done. So it's a whole different level. But I think the biggest thing about trench play, man, if I can say anything to the viewers watching, focus on the offensive and defensive line. That's where football is won. That's what football is built and bred upon. You watch that matchup, you will find something. You will find violent play. You'll find exciting play. You'll see dominant players. You'll see dominant plays. And you'll truly understand why these plays are going. Because I'll tell you right now, there is no football without an offensive line. There's no football. All your special players are scoring these touchdowns. Does not happen without the big guys up front.
That's where the tacticians are. You're right. I've watched that many times, and of course, being a receiver, I didn't see a lot of it. I was on the line, but off from it. And but as you watch the game now, if you study it, it's just very minute details are made. I've sat next to people like Cutcliffe and some of those guys at a ball game, and him calling out things. He could tell by the way a lineman was lined up, where the ball was going to go, and those things. And it's very telling. So I'm glad to hear you say that. Patrick Mahomes, what's it like to play? What's he like off the field?
Yeah, Pat, he's awesome, man. That's one of the guys that when you get into the league, you're talking about your star players. So I remember my rookie year coming in for treatment. I don't know what I had at the time, but it was probably OTAs when I first got to the Chiefs, and I'm sitting on the table. It was early in the morning, still wiping the crud out your eyes, and here goes Patrick Mahomes walking in, and you a little bit of more context once again. In 2019, through the Big Orange program, through the Haslam Business School, I was able to go to the Super Bowl in Miami where the Chiefs played the 49ers. So I was able to watch them win that game. And then be able to be drafted by that team only a couple years later, and you see him walk in, it was like, dude, it's Patrick Mahomes, But every time I played with the man, every time I've been around him, even off the field, talk about a spectacular leader, human being, a guy you can trust and depend on, a guy who cares deeply about people. You see him everywhere, advertisement, shows. I mean, anytime I turn on my TV nowadays, you see Pat somewhere doing something. But for him to follow that up with being an outstanding human being, man, and leader is truly something special. That's why he's special. That's why he's one of the best. That's why he's going to be one of the best ever.
I'm glad to hear you say that. A lot of times you see these folks, and you and I are, of course, afforded the opportunity to meet a lot of people that you wouldn't have if we didn't have the titles beside our names. And sometimes I'm very much disappointed when I meet entertainers and things, and I've learned not to set my standards too high, because I've met some incredible people and I met some real dirt bags. That makes me feel good. I know he's a new dad, and that's a good role model for kids today. I'm glad to hear you say that. What's your go-to meal after a tough game?
Well, I'll talk about what I had last night.
What'd you have?
I had pizza and wings, man. We had Marco's Pizza. It's really close to where I'm staying at right now. And then we ended up getting some Wingstop. So that's pretty much my go-to after a tough one. Get the carbs in. You're depleted after a game. And today I got to get back on track, though. But last night,
I got you. After a tough UT game, I go through the drive-through at Crystal. So,
hey, I love Crystals. And they should have never gotten rid of the one on the strip.
Well, I don't know, man. I went and took a picture by it, and I just said, we're losing our country, man. I tweeted something about it. Went to the one on Western Avenue after a ball game, my wife and I did, and I got home and they were plain. I mean, they were just pieces of meat on a bun, and no onions, no mustard, no pickles.
Come on.
And I was like, what in the world? And I tweeted about it, and then the next day they followed up and said, oh, please follow up with us, and they sent me like a gift card shaped like a crystal. It's like a credit card, and I've never used it. I think they went bankrupt since then, so I guess it's probably not worth anything, but I thought it was a pretty cool little thing to have. But anyway, hey, Super Bowl win against the Eagles.
Yep.
Describe that. Can't be anything like that.
Yeah.
Maybe the birth of a child or something.
Yeah. Man, it was probably one of the proudest moments I've had in my life. I've played sports pretty much all my life growing up, and I've never actually won a championship. So to get the Super Bowl, that was special. I think about all the sacrifices my family has made for me to that standpoint. I remember just as soon as that clock hit zero, when it really set in, like there's nothing they can do to take this away. That was the moment, and I remember the confetti's flying down and just hugging my dad and my sister and giving home my dad, just letting them know like all the sacrifices, all the times he drove me to games and Gatorades, Powerades, Subway sandwiches, even up to youth league football, like it paid off for that one moment. And I think, I sit there and I think about that moment, and I think about my mom, Trey Smith. Like I lost my mom when I was 15, and to me, it was just a culmination of all of her hard work and dedication in my life. And I really wish she was there in that moment to be able to see it. I remember my mom and I, we would just talk about, what if you get an Alabama offer or something like that? And, being able to get in that stage where I'm in the NFL, I got my degree, and man, I just won a Super Bowl. I mean, it's one of my proudest achievements I ever had. Actually, just to throw it off a little bit, I have this here. I got to get out the camera so it focuses, but Super Bowl ring. So
I see it, brother. I was going to ask you about it if it was close by.
Yeah. So being able to have this is really a testament for my life and just the hard work that went into it. I'm extremely blessed to have it.
Well, I'm an unrepentant mama's boy as well. And both my parents are in heaven and I miss them every day. Yep. Man, I do. I'm glad to hear you say I go out every night, look at that dome on the Capitol and think, wow, Charlie and Joyce Burchett's baby boy. My mama flew an airplane during the Second World War. She taught high school, and then her last 10 years she taught over here at Knoxville College, and they put her in their Hall of Fame. These two sweet little ladies, after Mama died, they came over and presented at the funeral, and it was really special. And awesome. Daddy fought the Japanese in the Pacific, so I think of the sacrifice. I'm so glad to hear you say that, because we stand on somebody else's shoulders.
Absolutely.
I tell these young kids, I speak to them all the time, and it's not like it used to be. Kids today, they talk. It doesn't. The racial barriers, the religious barriers, things that when I grew up, they don't exist per se, just because I don't know, they just don't. And they talk about how tough things are. And I say, guys, let me tell you how tough things used to be. Let me tell you how my parents grew up. And I'm sure your parents grew up pretty tough. And they raised a spectacular son. So, well, this is the part I hate the most, and that I'll edit out if I don't like it. But this is your opportunity to ask me anything you want.
Man, I don't have much. You know me, I'm sort of a UAP fanatic at this point.
Yep.
But that, we covered a lot in that one little podcast.
In your podcast, put in a plug for y'all's podcast. Yep. Who was that other guy with you that was in that?
Beach Galloway. So he worked with VFL Films.
No, I mean the other host.
Oh, Mr. Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I was trying to think who he was.
Starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals now.
Yeah. I've heard of that.
Time. Yeah, he's big time now, man. But I guess one of the things I really enjoyed our conversation that we had prior. I think it's something that I wrestle with because I want to believe, and I think that makes me biased a little bit. But I just want disclosure, if that makes sense.
I'm with you. That's what I said in the committee meeting. I said we're not going to bring out a bunch of little green men or a flying saucer. Just turn loose of the stuff. I want you and Josh to be able to see some of the things that I've seen, some of the footage, video, and talk to some of the people and some of the facts and figures and drawings and things. And I would love for you and the rest of America to see that. I think you can handle it. I think a lot of arrogance in government, and we got to get past that. And and thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And I want to wish you all the success, and I'll be praying for you in this upcoming year, and that you just remain healthy. I remembered when you're when it was released to what was wrong with you, and then everybody Googled it because nobody knew what the heck it was. I'd never heard of that, and man, you just overcome so much. How's your health now? Do you feel pretty good? Has things kind of recovered, or where are we at?
Yeah, it's been excellent. Ever since I got to the league, the Chiefs had a really good game plan on how we're going to mitigate and monitor it. And I think after about the 5-year mark, you're not really at risk factor anymore. So I haven't had any issues whatsoever. It's a testament to God and great healthcare that I've been able to receive, thankfully, luckily as well. So I haven't had any issues, man. It's been amazing.
And you got a great story, and it's just a great American journey. So I hope a lot of young folks see this and say, maybe not going to happen in the pros, but you can stick it out and get a good education and achieve a lot in this world. So thank you, brother. I appreciate you. And I thank you for joining me today. Of course, I wish you the best luck in the upcoming season. And I'm Congressman Tim Burchett. I want to thank y'all for watching another episode of Tennessee Talks. And thank y'all for sending me here.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Tennessee Talks. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Keep up with Congressman Burchett by following Rep. Tim Burchett on Twitter and Instagram, and Congressman Tim Burchett on Facebook and YouTube.